I've been wanting to sew my own 1930s beach pajamas for ages because I see these wonderful original pajamas around, all ones that people have sewn themselves. They are made with all kinds of wonderful prints or with colour blocking or with like fun design details like buttons or even pleats around the bottom of the pajamas, and even with fabulous appliqué, often geometric sort of stripes or squares or rectangles, but also you can really go with a seaside theme and have your very own lobster like here. Or I was thinking of really fun design would be with like a kind of coral reef and fish. I didn't go that far myself, but I did do some colour blocking and some fun just geometric stripe applique. I think part of the appeal of these beach pajamas is from the original bohemian socialites who wore them in the 1920s and 30s, and they were women with a kind of sartorial, rebellious streak, which appeals to me. And it all sort of kicked off with the wonderful movie star Billy Burke wearing them. And it led to a craze for pyjama parties to which men weren't invited. And from those pyjama parties, these wonderful pyjamas kind of crept into being worn out and about, often in seaside resorts, because we know when we're on holiday, we all feel a bit more able to relax and wear what we want to. And after the First World War, foreign travel was becoming more popular, more slightly, not affordable to all, I'm sure, but affordable to some. And it became very fashionable to hang out in Deauville or Biarritz, not just on the beach, but in cafes in your fabulous, fun beach pajamas, being a bohemian socialite. Coco Chanel already had a shop in Deauville where she was selling sportswear to her bohemian clientele. So she embraced the trend for beach pajamas. In fact, pajamas weren't just worn on the beach, although they've kind of become known as beach pajamas. They were also worn for like a pair of gardening pajamas or pajamas for the kitchen. Or if you were a glamorous movie star like Joan Crawford, you had your velvet and fur pajamas. So pajamas were really evocative in the 20s and 30s of a kind of combination of sensuality and rebelliousness that kind of added up to that bohemian look. All kinds of opportunities for your style of beach pajamas. I used this fabulous pattern by the Vintage Sewing Pattern Company, and I loved the opportunity for colour blocking, and I loved the decorative use of buttons. And I decided to use fabric from my stash, and I found a gorgeous colourful print, my favourite, Liberty Tana Lawn, and I found that my scarlet Tana Lawn that I used in the colour blocking matched the scarlet of the print, because of course they're both Liberties, and I used that scarlet I already had to add some colour block features, and I really used every last scrap. I was left with a few shreds at the end, and I found some assortment of wonderful vintage buttons as well. So I thought what I do is show you the most interesting parts of the sewing process, then get down to the beach, where else, and I lived near it, to show the final reveal of my beach pajamas. The reveal revealed to me why I don't lead this lifestyle of, relaxing with a coffee on the beach in my beach pajamas, kind of perhaps a cocktail later. And the answer is, I have 3 dogs who want to play. So my reveal won't be me at a cafe. It'll be me with one of those, throwers that hurl a tennis ball for miles, and yet all border collie owners will know no matter how far you throw that ball, in a nanosecond it's back. So on to my sewing. So I started by cutting out the main fabric and then cut out the pieces I need from the scarlet fabric that I'm using for colour blocking. These are the pieces for the trouser hem, and also pieces to go around the shoulder at the back. And this is the front, which has the colour block detail around the shoulder too. And you can see on the right side there's a kind of extra bit for attaching the buttons and the buttonholes too. And the pieces are just attached and shown you by top stitching around that edge. And there's a facing piece on the right just to kind of reinforce where those buttons are going to go. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to choose these off-white vintage buttons. And you can see on the pattern that the trousers also have 3 buttons. And this is the trouser legs with the appliqué stripes top stitched into position. And I've left an opening on the left which will have the buttons and a buttonhole facing attached to it. I'm just checking that each side matches up. And there were 2 darts in the left and the right side on both front and back. This is the front, and I'm just showing you how I've pinned the right opening there in position, but that's where the buttons will be going, and the buttonholes, of course. I'm doing a final check on which buttons I want to use. And I definitely want to use these ivory coloured vintage buttons. And then I'm just laying the front and back pieces together, and I'm going to French seam everything, so wrong sides together first and then right sides together to create those French seams. And because I was using a fine cotton, I just folded it over a few times to reinforce that seam where I'm going to be stitching the buttons. And then those seams are ready to stitch before adding the sleeves. I thought I'd show you a close-up of the garment details before you see me at a distance on the beach wearing my beach pyjamas. So I used contrasting blue and red threads to sew on the buttons on each side. I did bound buttonholes, which is a lovely vintage detail, although it does take them a little longer. And just the corner there, the top is attached at the neckline with a little hook and eye fastening. That's just showing you the bound buttonhole in close up. And I hemmed the bottom of the top, and these are the trousers, and that's just a hook and eye fastening at the waistband, and then lovely chunky ivory buttons and bound buttonholes again. You can see that just creates a really nice vintage feature. And just to show you close up with the button placement on around the yoke there, and that's on the trousers on the left side, of course. And here I am on the beach with my faithful hounds, and these beach pyjamas are so comfy. As you can see, they're quite loose and breezy and perfect for these roaringly hot summers that we're having. And the dogs are keeping me busy. Well, I've got one speedy dog, the border collie, and one very ancient treacle, 16 and a half, and then there's Pixie, a little street dog I adopted from Serbia a couple of years ago, who you can see has eaten quite a lot since she arrived. Poor little podgykin. She just wants to kind of be cuddled and eat now. She's not really the most athletic of dogs, unlike some. And I do think these beach pyjamas are fun. I'd love to do my coral reef idea with some appliqués, kind of fish and pieces of coral. And just to show you what I'm up against trying to keep this border collie well exercised, I thought I'd show you a little clip of her in action. She did have a little kind of nap after this for about 10 minutes before she was fully recharged again. Anyway, thank you so much for watching us all, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week for more sewing adventures.